Hey, it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Saturday, September 3rd. So we have the moon in Sagittarius all day. We are building towards our first quarter moon in Sagittarius at 11 degrees. We will be having that at 2:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So as we've been discussing, if you are a Moon Guide subscriber, you would know what this first quarter moon in Sag is all about. But as we've been discussing, we are building towards the very first point of action, of decision, of choice making, of direction since the new moon in Virgo. Now, anytime that the moon is in Sag, whether it is a specific moon phase or not, Sag energy is very big, very expansive. It wants us to explore our thoughts, our ideas. It connects us with our higher self. We're able to focus on the big picture. We have an extreme amount of confidence and optimism of the possibilities that we are kind of contemplating at this time. It is a fire energy. The downside, the fall, if you will, in Sag energy is that we're a little bit scatterbrained. We lack focus. We lack direction. We're bouncing from one thing to the next. And that is going to pose a little bit of an inner conflict as we get to this first quarter moon energy. But we are really making some growth, making some progress, making some improvements in our emotions and in our mental plane. So we have 10 different aspects taking place here today, and 8 of them involve the moon. So to begin with, we have a beautiful energy between the moon in Sagittarius, trining, which is a beautiful energy, with Jupiter, who rules over Sag energy. So this particular energy is really going to make us feel hyped up, motivated, inspired, confident, optimistic. The downside is that we have all this energy. We don't know how to channel it. We don't know what area, what direction to actually put it into. This Jupiter energy wants us to grow, wants us to improve, definitely showing us where it is that we have to kind of work on our belief system. Again, renewing our trust, our excitement, our faith in ourselves and in the process. The moon trining Jupiter is going to kind of activate a little bit of overexcitement, mania, if you will. We want to take action, but we don't know where to put that energy. We're definitely exploring our emotions and our thoughts, but everything seems to be magnified. Everything feels a lot bigger than it actually is. Circumstances may seem a little bit more intense than they actually are. But again, this is all part of the process building towards this first quarter moon energy where we have to build with the energy in order to kind of reach a peak point of seeing clearly, defining a direction, and establishing where it is that we're going to pour our energy into from here. We get another beautiful aspect between the moon and Mercury this time. Mercury, of course, in Libran energy, striving for peace, for balance, for harmony. The downside of Mercury being in Libra, of course, is being indecisive, sitting on the fence. And with this moon in Sag energy, we're definitely playing into not having a focus, not having a direction. But this is a beautiful energy because our heart and our head are working very well together. The moon being our heart space, our emotions, our intuition, our unconscious self. Mercury being the mental plane, our thoughts, our ideas, our ability to communicate and express ourselves. We are opening up our minds. We are actively just exploring the options, the choices, the decisions that we got on the go. Now, this should be an exciting time. I don't want this energy to push you into a sense of frustration or irritability because you can't decide or you don't know what the choice is or you don't know what the direction or path is. You have to understand that we are the ones, we're the vessels of the energy. We get to choose how it's going to manifest. All of these different aspects, whether they're good, bad, or otherwise, those are just giving us the general unconscious energy on how they manifest. If you are awake and acting as the observer, you can nip this in the bud if it's actually manifesting in a wrong way. And you, as the channel, as the vessel, have the ability to manifest this energy in the best way possible. So I would like to think that we're going to be overly excited, a little bit enthusiastic, if you will, optimistic on some of the ideas that we're exploring in our mental plane. So the true node goes ahead and bumps into Chiron in a way that would suggest that something's going to pop off in our exterior realm that really is just making us think, but is making us think from a wounded place. So Chiron, being the wounded healer, is retrograde in Aries energy right now. We're doing an inner reflection on our mental health, on that warrior energy that we're going to need to kind of tackle the wounds that still do need to be healed within us. This is highlighting for us our ego identity. And the true node, of course, being in this Taurus and Scorpio axis, the true node's trying to get us on the right path. What do we need to grow? What do we need to give birth to? What do we need to create? Where do we need stability? Where do we have to love ourselves? Where do we have to find mission and meaning and purpose? So whatever situation pops off is likely going to illuminate for us where it is that, you know what, this doesn't feel good to me. I don't know how I'm going to move ahead with these types of elements, these types of people, this type of situation in my life, which means that we're having a realization on what it is that doesn't feel so good, what it is we don't want to experience, what it is we no longer want to continue as far as our plans and moving forward. So again, we're not meant to feel happy-go-lucky all the time. That would be our, I'm going to say, energetic purest self. That is where we come from source. We come to this earth school to inhabit these physical meat suits so that we can experience the polarization of emotion. And as human beings, we only learn through the hard way. We only learn that we need to change and we need to transform our lives when we're tired of the pain and the suffering, the uncomfortability. So whatever situation is popping off likely isn't going to feel good, but we use our not so nice thoughts and emotions in order to create a path, a direction, a framework to get away from said situations that are creating these types of not so nice thoughts and feels. So we are going to learn something out of this particular funk. Now, here's where I want you to pay attention to your energy, because the moon in Sag, which is a fire energy, is going to sit across from, conflict with, oppose Mars, the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, even our anger, if need be, who's sitting in Gemini energy. Again, very divided, sitting in the dualistic, polarized choices, very extreme choices, sitting in the battlefield of the intellect, trying to really kind of sort things out, figure out what is the best choice, what is the best decision, what is the best path for us. Now, let me just say, this particular energy is going to trigger our inner aggression, our inner irritability, our frustration. This is a highly combative energy. We're going to war with ourselves here. There's a lot of fire built up. And in the mental plane, which is air, fire and air have the tendency to have a raging campfire that's going to just burn the forest down. We have to be very mindful with how it is that we're speaking, because again, in this Gemini energy, it rules over communication. Mars being the god of war, all fired up, combative, ready to go. We could be spitting some fire that we might have to clean up that could actually burn some bridges. We want to understand that the moon in Sag is a fire energy as well that wants us to initiate something new. Initiate in this Mars energy where we have to be a little bit more proactive and aggressive with trying to sort out our thoughts, our feelings, how to communicate and express ourselves in a way with confidence and clarity instead of just spitting fire and venom and creating havoc in our physical realms. So this is going to be a little bit of, I'm going to say, gasoline to the fire, a little bit of energy here where the worst part of us could come out if we're not careful. Again, it's up to us on how we're going to allow this energy to actually manifest. Now, the moon is going to go ahead and interact with Saturn, the Lord of Karma, who is retrograde in Aquarian energy. And this is a positive interaction. So this means that the Saturn energy comes in, puts us in a reality check, brings us back down to earth, tries to ground this particular fire energy out. We need this. We need to get a little bit more clear on what it is that we are thinking, what it is that we're feeling, because the moon opposing Mars is really chaotic. It's really kind of crazy. There's a lot of sparks, a lot of fire, a lot of flames. There's a lot of thoughts. There's a lot of emotions. Everything is running very hot within. So this Saturn energy comes in and brings us back down to earth a little bit, makes us have a little bit of a clearer vision, a clearer focus on what is actually going on inside of us. And what it should be focusing on is where it is that we are feeling held back and restricted in order for us to kind of set ourselves free. So wherever it is in your thoughts and your emotions and your circumstances that you're feeling blocked, feeling challenged, feeling like you're held back, that's where you need to focus on the plan in order to break free of those constructs. Give yourself a little bit more freedom. Give yourself a little bit more liberation in the roles, in the commitments that likely is weighing very heavily on your heart space and on your head space. So 2:08 p.m. is when the moon squares the sun. This gives us our first quarter moon in Sagittarius. And at 11 degrees, it is a master number, which means that there is going to be a huge transformation, a huge, let's call it light bulb flash moment, where we are feeling very strong in our will to actually make a change. Now, here's the thing. Usually, change comes from great conflict, great tension, great pain, great trauma, great uncomfortability. This is no different. This past week, we have been building towards this first quarter moon, feeling the tension in our lives, feeling the pressure to figure things out. So out of this stress point, out of this inner conflict, if you will, we need to understand to turn this fuel, because it is a fuel, into motivation in order to build, in order to heal, in order to grow, in order to improve. The sun in Virgo energy just wants us to fix things, wants us to get to work building the kinds of routines, inner narratives, supports in our lives to fix the problems that we are identifying. We know what's wrong. We know where we don't feel good. We know what it is that we're tired and frustrated with dealing with. So this particular energy is creating this inner conflict in order to kind of motivate us to get our ass in gear, to actually do something so that we can break free of this funk and actually start building towards our goals, our dreams, our visions, which should be peace and harmony, which should be wholeness. That's what this Virgo energy is all about. The problem with this is we're going to be bouncing off the walls in our inner realm, in our outer realm. Again, fire energy needs a focus, needs a direction, and we're lacking focus and direction in this Sag energy. So engage your physical body, whether you're cleaning up your environment, which would be a great thing to do, seeing that we're in Virgo season. We need to clean things up. We should be tapping into our OCD and our perfectionism at this time in order to create order where there's been chaos, starting with our materialistic realms, with our homes, with our office space, with our closets, with our cars, the physical realm. The physical realm is a mirror on how it is that you are feeling in your inner realm. So we have to get to cleaning and putting things back in its place and back in its order. So engage the physical body with something to do with organization, cleaning up, exercise, health, wellness, organization. Those are Virgo themes. Engage the physical body, earth energy, physical body, in order to channel this fire energy bouncing around, in order to focus the mind, right? This is the problem, is our minds are bouncing all over the place. We have all of this zest in us to take action and make a move, but we have no clue where we should actually be pouring that energy, what direction we should take, what choices we should be making. So this is going to feel very uncomfortable. It's supposed to, because out of uncomfortability comes clarity. Out of chaos comes clarity. Out of a breakdown comes a breakthrough. This is just the natural progression in this particular moon phase. So shortly after we have this first quarter moon in Sag, we are going to have the moon semi-squaring with Pluto. A semi-square is a little bit of a tension point as well. We're all up in the tension right now because the tension creates transformation. And transformation is exactly what Pluto wants us to do, transform. Where does that transformation need to take place first? In the psyche, in the mental plane. What happens second? Our emotions change because of our perspective and understanding. Then what happens? then our heart and our head are on the same page, and we can engage the physical body to make the moves and take the actions needed in order to align ourselves with the choices, with the decisions, with the energy that we got going on in our inner realm. This is how we manifest. It is an absolute equation, but it starts with the change that we need to have to make inside of ourselves first. So here's where things get interesting. The sun in Virgo makes an aspect with Pluto shortly after the moon does. Now, this is going to really trigger a lot of not so nice thoughts and feelings. Keep in mind that the moon in the sun in Virgo, my apologies, wants to shine a bright light on what isn't working, what is broken, what doesn't feel right. We have to analyze the problem before we can come up with a solution. Virgo energy is the fixer, the solver. We have to analyze what the problem is, where it came from, what our options are in order to actually fix it. The sun in Virgo is attempting to put us back to a state of health and wellness and wholeness. But in order to do that, we have to identify where it is that we're not feeling so happy, not feeling so healthy, not feeling so whole. Now, the interaction with Pluto, the god of the underworld, mind you, who is retrograde in Capricorn energy, taking us on an inner realm journey on where it is that we feel powerless, where it is that we do not feel in control, where it is that we feel fearful and doubtful and defensive, right? The minute that we feel like we have to defend ourselves, it's because we're starting to feel vulnerable. And we start to feel vulnerable because we're confused and we don't know what we're doing because we don't feel like we have control over our emotions. And this Plutonian energy, because it is the god of the underworld, deals with the shadow realm. We like to unearth some things in our unconscious self, in the root of our psyche, in the root of our emotions, to bring it to the surface so that we can shine a bright light on it, because light is information, light is knowledge, light is power, light is love. Anything that is set up in the darkness is uninformed, it's unacknowledged, it's unintegrated. We need to bring it to the surface, which doesn't feel good because it doesn't feel good to unearth repressed memories, repressed emotions, motives, if you will. It shows us where we are desperately in need and craving control over our lives. That's why we feel panicky. It's why we feel reactive. That's why we get defensive. So the sun interacting with Pluto in this way is going to trigger all of these not so nice thoughts and feelings. Why? Because once they're triggered, once they're activated, think of diving into the water and you go down to the floor of the ocean or the lake or wherever you're at, and you see something shiny and you start, swishing the water around to try and unearth this item. And then it hasn't seen sunlight in God knows how long. So you bring this item to the top of the surface of the water, and then the air gets at it, the sun gets at it, and you're able to examine it. Now it looks pretty aged, pretty tarnished, pretty yucky. There might be goo on it that you're going to have to remove. But this is essentially something that you have unearthed, brought to the surface of the water for brand new life again. This is how transformation takes place. But in this case, we're doing it with thoughts, with memories, with emotions, with motives, and the not so nice ones. We're unearthing where it is that we feel the lack of control, like we can't breathe under this water, like we might not make it to the surface again, like we're feeling a little bit panicky. We can see the light through the surface of the water, but we're all the way down here. Are we going to make it to the top again where we can breathe, where we feel like we have control over the air coming into our lungs? This does not feel good, but it is absolutely necessary because, again, we have to examine the not so nice parts, the dark parts, the shadow parts, in order to turn them into a source of power, into a source of light. Tells me that we're going to make major aha moments, major revelations under this particular influence, because we have the moon then trining, which is a beautiful energy, with Chiron, the wounded healer. So the moon in Sag wants to shine a bright light on new thoughts, new feelings, to explore that, to see where that takes us, to magnify whatever it is that we're thinking and feeling so that we can really align with our higher selves, act as the observer, and see what's going on here underneath the surface. Chiron, being the wounded healer, yes, illuminates the wounds. I think we just did that underneath the water, unearthing a couple of things, but gives us the wisdom and the resources in order to actually heal it. And I know that we're going to heal it. I know that we're going to acknowledge certain aspects of repressed emotions, memories, and thoughts, because the last aspect of the day is the moon interacting with the true node in such a way that means that we have an opportunity for growth, for improvement, to signal to the universe, hey, got the message. I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to take a baby step forward. I do see where I need to grow. I do see where I need to improve. And I'm optimistic and confident now because I trust myself and I trust the process that I'm able to sit in the funk, dig myself out of it, and be better off for it.